Schneider, who wrote the incredible romancy book Metal Slinger and the highly anticipated sequel Light Wielder that has just recently been released. I'm so excited to chat with you guys and Rachel this evening. There will be a chance for a Q&A at the end of the event. If you think of any questions, feel free to add it into the designated Q&A box that you can find, and I will bring this up again towards the end if you think of anything later on. But for now, let's give a warm welcome to our author, Rachel.
Hi.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi. I'm
How are
so
you
excited
doing?
to be here.
We're so excited to have you and to talk about all things, because it was so much fun chatting last time about all things Metal Slinger, and now we get to talk about Light Wielder. So,
Yay. It's finally here.
I know it's finally. I feel like we've been waiting for so long, and it's flown by. But at the same time, oh, where's the time gone? For any readers who haven't read any of your work yet, though I'm sure most people here are very familiar with your series, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I live in Louisiana. It's a southern state along the Gulf here in the US. I live here with my husband and my only daughter and our 3 dogs and 2 cats.
Obsessed with that. Also, hopefully, one of these days we can get you out to the UK to maybe for next future book to do one of these in person. But thank you so much for joining us from across the pond. I know you've been so busy with the release and your US book tour. It looked incredible. You must be absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, I got in late last night and my husband had already like drawn me a bath. He had dinner ready, so it was like the easiest come down after a long travel.
Oh, that sounds absolutely incredible, like my dream night in. And add a book to that, then that is absolutely perfect. For any readers or listeners here today who haven't picked up the Fire and Metal series, how would you describe the series? What can they expect?
The series as a whole, I really wanted it to be a journey with a very satisfying ending. It's about the world that they live in, that our characters live in. The magic is kind of derived from themselves, but also from the land. Mother Nature played a huge part in inspiring me to write this story. I think because I wrote it outside. Um, so yeah.
With Light Wielder, it's obviously book two in the series, book one being Metal Slinger. It was completely action packed, full of shocking twists and turns, which is something that you are very famous for now. Um, with Light Wielder, what can readers expect?
Um, so White Wilder is set 4 years after the ending of Metal Slinger, which I think shocked a lot of people that I pushed it forward so far. But I really wanted, since it is a duet or a duology, that for everything that just needed to be in there for 2 books. So that it's a lot of, we're in a world that's embroiled in war due to the actions and the consequences of our main characters. And yeah, it kind of picks up right in the middle of that and it just steamrolls through.
There's a few things that you've just mentioned that I'd love to circle back and come to in a little bit. I have so many questions to ask you, but to get started, to get us warmed up, I do have some rapid fire questions. I know last time we did this at the end, but we're going to switch it up. So I'm going to ask you like a this or that, and you just, first reaction, tell me which one you prefer.
Okay.
So we've got fantasy or romance.
I guess romance, because I'll read anything as long as it has romance in it, but I won't read everything if there's not romance in it.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Reading or writing?
Oh, that's hard. I guess since before I was ever a writer, like no one comes out of the womb writing. I guess I would have to say reading because that's your first love. That's like what you fall in love with. That's what makes you want to tell stories. So
I love that, yeah. Writing in the morning or the evening?
morning, I am. Yeah, I like to wake up first thing in the morning. I like to go sit out. Okay, that's typically because it's colder in the mornings.
Okay.
Like it's cooler, and I like to sit outside and write. So
I am so envious of you for that. I feel like, unfortunately, I'm more productive in the evenings, but I'd love to get up in the mornings and be productive like that. Um, pen or keyboard?
keyboard. I'm
Yeah.
not Jane Eyre in this. That's crazy. If I had to write my entire books by pen, ugh.
I feel like you'd hurt your wrist doing that, but I know some people still like to do that.
Impressive, impressive.
Yeah. Music or silence?
So it used to be silence, but like since I've been writing book three, I've been listening to music through the whole thing.
Oh, spice or no spice?
Spice.
That was the
Yeah.
fastest you've answered one so far.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Metal slinger or light wielder?
I think because Metal Slinger was my first baby,
Mm-hmm.
but it almost feels like picking a favorite child, and I quit at one, so that's really hard. But I guess Metal Slinger.
Dual or single point of view?
I think I prefer single.
Okay, interesting. That leads us on to our next question because it was obviously super exciting to go from reading single point of view to dual point of view in book two. For anyone who hasn't read it yet, we do have a new point of view, which is really fun to read. How did you find writing from a new perspective?
It was difficult, especially because from a male's perspective. And I realized I struggle with sympathizing with a man. Um, so I think I just prefer to write from a female's perspective as much as I prefer to read from a female's perspective. I just feel like I can relate more. But also, I think that it creates more tension that way without you knowing what's going through someone else's mind. But I felt like the story really needed dual POV, so I was glad to do it.
It was really fun. I mean, like you said, having a single point of view definitely does add a bit more tension because there's a lot of mystery, and I love to read single point of view. I think over dual point of view, but I think you did an incredible job of bringing in this new dual point of view because I think it heightened the yearning and just like the longing and what we love and crave from like our romancy books. So I think you did a fantastic job. I can only imagine how challenging it would have been, but it was a really fun dynamic as a reader to read in this book.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and especially with it being our MMC, I didn't want it to feel like it was too far apart from who he was in the first book. Like, I definitely wanted it to still feel like him whenever we've only seen him from an objective point of view previously.
I think as well having the time jump, which you mentioned, it definitely helped also getting his perspective a bit because we got to find out some answers to some lingering questions from the end of the book and understand kind of a little bit more what was going on as we get to be in both of their heads. And
Mm-hmm.
for anyone who got to read the exclusive previews of Light Wielder before it was released, we knew a time jump was coming in book two. Can you share some insight onto why you decided to jump forward in time in Light Wielder? Because that seems like it could be quite a monumental task to take on and not something super common, something super unique. And again, I loved reading about because it just added in more tension.
Right. I really wanted it to fester, like the end of Metal Slinger to fester. And I really felt like if I picked up immediately, then we would have. I run by this motto that if I'm bored writing it, someone's probably bored reading it. And I really think that, like, the political dynamics and the war and everything was going to take time. And I didn't want it to bore and drag on more than it needed to. The reason why I made it a duology or duet is so that we could, like, kind of eliminate anything that felt like filler. And so that time jump was crucial for that, but also I wanted to age up our characters a little bit. I wanted them to be a little bit more mature. I wanted them to have a perspective of their actions. uh, so it's not hot off of what happens immediately, but I think that it really lends to a good conclusion.
I agree with you. I was so satisfied with the ending. We'll talk about the ending a little bit later on. But I think a time jump as well made the story feel a little bit more real and the conflict and the resolution because for writing a story that wraps up in two books, it feels like there did need to be some time in between for characters to grow and develop and for proper resolutions to come around. So I really enjoyed reading that and that aspect in the book itself. That was really fun to do. Um, we also have a whole cast of characters in this series with some new characters in book two. Did you find it challenging to write these new storylines and these new dynamics between these characters?
Yeah, so introducing new characters was a task. But again, if anything, I have a hard time just focusing on the main characters because when I introduce someone and I love them, then I'm like, also, I'm going to run away with them as well. So, but, you know, our characters ended up in different places, and that's new people, new storylines, new connections. So, I think the hardest thing when writing that is just that they felt like they were already included in the story. I didn't want them to feel like they were coming out of left field. That they already were familiar with our characters, even though the reader was only just meeting them.
With Metal Slinger, it was the book that broke the internet back in 2024 and then 2025 when it was republished because of the ending. As the queen of writing book endings, when you wrote Metal Slinger, did you know it would have that specific ending? And when you were writing Light Wielder, did you know you would end book two in this way?
So, um, I've told this before, so I apologize if anyone's heard it. I had written 35,000 words of Metal Slinger whenever it had like sat in the trash folder of my computer for like 5 years. At this point, that was like almost 7 years ago. It wasn't until I changed the ending that I went back and rewrote those words and finished it to Metal Slinger. And then I always anticipated the ending of Light Wielder once I figured that out. So yeah, I always envisioned this being the end of our FMC's journey for sure.
I'd love to live inside your brain for a little bit of time just to see what you've got going on up there because some of the connections and little snippets and bits and pieces you pulled and just the way that you aren't afraid to, throw in these plot twists and lead the reader in one direction when it's visible what is going on in the background if we're really looking closely. I think is just a mastermind.
Oh, thank you. Sometimes I get like annoyed with myself when writing because I'm like, why couldn't I write something simpler? Like I have a tendency to overcomplicate things, but I think that's what makes it enjoyable for me to write.
Yeah. All of the characters you've introduced us to in Metal Slinger and Light Wielder are all incredible. I think your found family is one of my favorites. I love reading found family, and the cast of characters we have are also different, and their specific relationships and dynamics to each other is just such a strong and incredible found family to root for and read. But I want to talk specifically about the strong and layered female characters that you have written in this series. I'd love to know if any of the women or people in your life have inspired these characters or where you find the inspiration for these type of characters.
I just love girlhood. I love women. I love our friendships with one another, and that my best friend and I, we always joke like, if when our husbands die, we're gonna move in together and live like our ultimate girlhood fantasy, where we just eat like girl dinner and read books. So I don't know. I just really love my female friendships. So I have the best time writing that into books. Like Greta, I love Greta and her relationship with Bo, and Bo's relationship with our FMC right off the bat. Those, I feel like that's helped ground the story, and whenever the story is just turmoiled by terrible, terrible kings. So,
Yeah. If I had to choose, I'm not sure I would be able to pick just one character from the series as my favorite. I mean, I love our FMC. I'm always rooting for her. Want her to achieve all her goals and live happily ever after and be a badass, inspiring female. But also, Mesa is just so funny. He just like runs right off the page with some of his one-liners and things he gets up to. And I know from a last conversation you talked about how he was quite fun to write. In Light Wielder, which was your favorite character to write?
still Messer. Messer still has a chokehold on me. He's just like the story needs. I mean, it's a story about war and like heartbreak, so it needs levity, and I think Messer really comes through hard with that.
Oh, he does. He definitely lightens the mood. And anytime I see his name on page, I'm like, oh, what are we going to get into now? He's just, yeah, one of my favorite characters. Which of your characters was the most challenging to write in Lightwielder?
Acre.
Yeah, the dual point of
Yeah.
view get into you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did. It truly did. I was like, God, everybody feels so bad for him. Um, but I felt like that he was true to him.
Yeah, no, I honestly think that he could say anything with that nose ring, and we would be like, yeah, we're sad. Was there anything that surprised you during your writing process that you didn't anticipate being a part of Lightwielder?
No, someone had asked me this before, like, has my character's done anything that I felt was really surprising? And the answer is no, because unfortunately I know what they're going to do. I wish that I could like read my own writing objectively so that I could understand. I've had authors say that like their characters talk to them, and I've never felt that. And for a long time, that gave me like really bad imposter syndrome because I was like, "What are y'all talking about?" I wish they talked to me. I wish they explained themselves, but no, I unfortunately no. It's a, their creation. I am their creator, so I know what they're gonna do.
Do you see everything coming from a mile away and like already taken care of?
Yeah, I guess if there is one thing that surprised me, that the reason why it was written that way is that I loved Messer so much that whenever it was time for me to leave him behind, I couldn't. So then I had to find a way to bring him with us. So I guess if that's it, because he wasn't originally from the start supposed to do that.
Oh, I think that would have made such a different story.
Mm-hmm.
That yeah, that could have been such like a small change that would have could have impacted quite a lot. So yeah, that's really interesting. I
Mm-hmm.
can't imagine a metal slinger or a light wielder without Messer.
Right.
Yeah. Did you feel any pressure writing light wielder after Metal Slinger?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of pressure for sure. I mean, I've seen all the theories. Um, I've seen everyone's, wishes and desires of where they wanted it to go. And so I struggled with that a lot. But I wrote Metal Slinger just for me. I never intended for anyone to ever read it. Thought it was going to be like my mom and my best friend and like one other person. So I just stuck with that when writing Lightwielder with the hopes that people would love it just the same.
I love that. I think I'm definitely a reader that likes the author to take me on a journey and tell me their story. And I always find that they're like my favorite type of fantasy books when the authors are writing for themselves and telling the story that they want to tell that's really authentic. So I know it can be, everyone's opinions and thoughts and theories. There are so many theories that people have with this series after the way that book two ended. It could be a lot, but yeah, I think you did an incredible job, and I can only imagine how difficult it would be to follow up the incredible love and success for Metal Slinger. But I'm so sad. Anything that you write, I will be sat here ready to read. How different was the writing process for Lightwielder versus Metal Slinger? As you had mentioned that you knew how you wanted Lightwielder to end when you had ended Metal Slinger that way. Was your writing process at all different from book one to two?
Yeah, so like I had written Metal Slinger whenever I was working full time. So Metal Slinger was written like on the weekends or at night when I had spare time. Pieced it together here and there. So in Lightwielder, when I did the dual POV though, I still wanted to feel very fast paced, have the short chapters, but have a balance of the two. It was so important to me that it felt cohesive, that it didn't feel like that whenever you were moving between POVs across different places in the world that you were disconnected. So that was probably my biggest struggle to overcome. But also Light Wielder was written like all day obsessively. I had written, the book itself lands now at 140,000 words, but I had written over 300. So what I had cut out, like to try to make it just really bingeable, was just my main priority.
Ooh. Were there any scenes you had to cut out that didn't make it into the final draft that you wish you could have kept in?
So the ones that I've cut that I knew that a third book was coming. So everything that I felt like Jovi needs ends in book 2, but it doesn't mean that there's that questions will linger and be pulled into book 3.
Oh, so exciting. What was your favorite scene, trope, or moment to write in Light Wielder?
So without spoilers, I'm just going to say the wharf. I really enjoyed the wharf. I have to say that was the moment that I was looking forward to the most.
Yeah, that was very fun as a reader to read as well. I think that's one of my. I got a few different ones, but yeah, that's probably what was my favorite one to read as well. I have to ask though, those dang rabbits. It worked so well, and I don't think I've read a single other book with these dang rabbits. Why rabbits? What was that inspiration?
I don't know. I really don't know. I liked the idea of I don't want to spoil anything. I like the idea of like these really cute, cuddly things being pivotal or like surprising in a way.
It's very surprising. I loved the snippets in book 1, but actually getting some type of like answer or understanding of it in book 2. So fascinating. It really works. It's really fun. Um, and obviously, you've mentioned it a few times so far in our conversation. And before the book was coming out, you did confirm on social media that our FMC story wraps up in Light Wielder, but there is a third book in the Fire and Metal series confirmed. During your whole writing process, when did you know that there was more of the story and world still to explore?
So when I realized that Light Wielder would have been the size of the Bible, I think it just needed, I think it needed a third book. I think, but for the sake of a duology of a duet, Jovi's wrapping in 2, but needing to pull some more to book 3.
You've notoriously said in the past that you have a bad habit of writing books we can't talk about because of all the crazy fun spoilers. Is there anything that you can tell us about book 3?
Unexpected?
Okay. Because I think we don't have it confirmed what's coming, but I think you definitely set it up for if anyone has read the book, they probably have an idea of where it's going, and I have to say I'm very excited for that. I think that's going to be very fun. So I have all your post notifications on. If anyone doesn't follow Rachel on socials, make sure you do that, because as soon as you can tell us something, you always tell us on your socials.
I do, yeah. The best place to follow me is on social media.
Yeah. After this series, do you think you'll continue to write more in this world you have created, or do you think you'd want to write something brand new?
I think I'm ready for something different. I'm ready for a new world, new characters, new magic. I'm ready for something fresh.
We know you've written romance before, the Fire and Metal series. Do you think you'd ever write in another genre again, or are you still deep in the romantasy?
I think for now, it's fantasy, romantasy, but I do think that at some point I have like a good contemporary romance that I could, get out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think that would be fun to read. Um, I mean, you've mentioned a little bit earlier about how you've seen some theories on social media with such crazy plot twists and fast-paced action in your book. Do you ever find yourself reading a lot of the theories, or have any readers guessed your plot twists before you've revealed them?
If they have guessed it, they only told me or like commented about it in hindsight. When Metal Slinger first like started popping off a little bit on social media, I was deep into Reddit. Uh, Reddit had like all these theories. And so, yeah, I've read a lot of the theories, but not many of them were, what I had envisioned for the story.
One of my favorite things to do is reread the series, and I've reread the first book a couple times. I can't wait to go and reread the second book, like Lightwielder, because I love to tab all your foreshadowing because it is all there, and I am a strong believer that you have given us all of the information we need. So I'm like, oh, if I do a reread of book two, maybe I'll be able to find some hidden Easter eggs or something for book three. But I'm not someone who has many theories. Like I said earlier, I love to let the author tell me the story. So very excited to see what you have up your sleeve because you are quite sneaky and clever in that way. Um, One of my personal favorite questions to ask authors. I love multiverses and crossovers of any kind. If your characters were to exist in another universe or crossover with another book, which book or universe would it be and why?
I think just because I love it so much, like I love the world that Callie Hart made in Quicksilver. If I could just put them in there, that would make me happy. I don't know if they would survive, but I mean, they might just die. I don't know. But I love that world so much. So maybe, or the Lord of the Rings, it feels fitting. Someone had asked me that before, and I was like, I think the Lord of the Rings feels good. But
Yeah, I'm just imagining Messer and Carrion just like getting up to absolute madness with each other. That would be
mm-hmm.
really fun to read. Do you read when you're in writing mode, or do you save your reading for when you're out of writing mode?
I don't. So with deadlines, I've realized that I cannot read because I'll fail a deadline. Uh, so usually so I'm on deadline now. So as soon as I'm done, I plan on hightailing it to the beach, and I'm bringing my entire TBR with me, and I'm gonna park my butt in the sand, and I plan on reading all the things. But I don't typically read in this genre when I'm writing for sure.
The Fire Metal series is God tier for me. Do you have a God tier book or series?
Oh, well, I think for everyone that's ever started their fantasy journey with like ACOTAR or the Throne of Glass series, for sure, that was like all of our gateway drugs. Um, but also, I still love Twilight. Like, Twilight still gets me. So,
For something so nostalgic, I think it's always like the found family and the romance in in those books that do just like hook you in.
mm-hmm.
They're so fun. Um, I'd love to go back in time a little bit and hear about when you first discovered your love for stories and writing. Have you been a lifelong reader, and what inspired you to write your very first book?
um, so I think I've always read books, but it wasn't until I discovered romance that I realized how much I loved them. The romance genre definitely pulled me in. I think Twilight. But there was also like I think a book called Perfect Chemistry that I had checked out of the library when I was in high school. That I by Simone Eccles. That book really drew me in, and then I was like, oh, I think I love romance. And then it wasn't until I had my daughter when I was 21 that I was deep in postpartum that I really needed something to fill my cup, and that was writing. And that was when I decided to write my first full novel.
We know that you like to write in the morning. Um, what does a typical writing day look like for you? Do you have any specific writing rituals?
Yeah, so I'll especially because my daughter goes to school, so get up with her, get dressed, and then I go to a coffee shop in my hometown. They have a porch, like a porch area that I can sit outside and write while I drink a cappuccino, and have breakfast. And then I usually stay there until I need to go pick her up, my daughter. So then I'll leave and go get her from school, and then I'll come and sit on my front porch at my house and write until I feel like that I've finished somewhere between 4:30, 6:30, and then I'll allow myself to decompress for the day.
That sounds like a beautiful writing routine. Sitting on a porch as well. I feel like that's such an American thing. I'm like, love to have something like that here. Like, oh yeah, that's like perfect setup and routine for writing. It sounds like the dream. Um, and as well with your books being so inspired by nature, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that makes so much sense. What is your favorite part of the writing process?
Oh, that varies. Because sometimes in the drafting process, you're like, this is great. This is the best thing I've ever written. And then you're like, the next day, you'll be like, this is all crap. I hate it all. I'm burning it. Um, so it really depends on the day. And then when you get to editing, you're like, it's coming together. It's like, you feel it's becoming a complete picture. And then you'll hit a point in editing. You're like, actually, it's all garbage again and I need to start completely over. So it really just depends on where I'm at in the day. Maybe it's like my luteal phase or something.
Do you plot like all your books in detail beforehand, or do you prefer to discover the story as you write? Do you have is it like different for each book or each individual project?
So Metal Slinger was more kind of lackadaisical. I had an idea of plot points I wanted to hit by a certain word point, but in Light Wielder, I did outline the entire thing. And then I realized that it almost put me in a box that I couldn't break out of. So I would be writing and I'd be like, I don't like this, but I was like, but it's in the outline, so I have to write it. And then I realized, wait, no, I don't. I made that outline. I can change it. Like, so I don't think I'll ever fully outline again because I think sometimes the story needs to pivot and I need the space to allow that to happen.
Yeah, that's really refreshing to hear, and also I think for like any creative hearing that, like you don't need to put yourself into a specific box so that you're limiting your creative process. So that yeah, that's a great reminder to everyone. I'd also love to hear more about your world building process, specifically with like the magic system in this world, because it is so unique compared to so many other romancy books out there that I have read. There's a lot of elements that are, familiar for a reader to be able to read and understand the magic system, but the way you set it up, I couldn't get over some of like the powers and the magic in it because I think it just worked so well. It was so fun. So I'd love to hear more about how you came up with that.
So I think this is kind of like a two level. So my daughter has like for a very long time. She's 12 now. So since she was like 6 or 7, really into rocks and different stones and like geodes, and like her favorite thing is to when we go to the farmers market is pick out a new stone that has like some symbolic meaning to her. So I think that that really like for the Hearthstone and the Manji Stone and the different stones of the world, that's where that really came from. And I think because I do write outside, that it was very tied to Mother Nature. I feel that also living in South Louisiana, we are an outdoor kind of people here, I guess you could say. So I do a lot of kayaking. I love the beach. I love anywhere that there's water. But then for the actual gifts themselves, my husband and I sat in bed and we like brainstormed like different types of magic that could exist. Most of his ideas were crap, but he would be like, "Oh, maybe when they drink water, they like sweat a lot or something," and I'd be like, "That's terrible." Um, so, but it got my like, you know, got my brain flowing because there are, we have fantasy romance, so many variations, very common themes. So it was important to me that it felt a little different.
I don't think that I could choose a power from the world that I would want to have. Like, there's quite a few really fun ones. I think influence scares me the most. But if you had to choose a power from the world that you created, what power would you choose?
There's literally no one because I had previously answered none of them because I wouldn't want a power, but General Samasu has this ability to transport wherever he would like to. He can just appear there, and I would like that. because I get homesick. So like anytime I'm in a hotel room or something, it feels like a Black Mirror episode. I just want to go home to my own bed. So if I could be like in Saint Tropez, but then I'd go home to sleep, that would be ideal.
No, that's really fun. I think that'd be really helpful as well for like the 101 things that I would always forget to like pack or bring with me or want something. I'm like, oh, I can just easily back and forth to get it. Yeah, that's really practical. That's a good one. Also, how do you come up with the names? Because for both characters and places, this series has so many unique names that I have never heard of and absolutely love. Like it really makes the world building and the immersion into this fantasy world feel more real.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I looked at my keyboard and threw some vowels together, and if it sounded good enough, that was good for me. Um, Again, I didn't want to overcomplicate it. I didn't want to write anything that I had to struggle to say, you know? So I kept it pretty simple.
That's um that's really fun. I always pronounce everything wrong, even the most like basic words ever.
Mm.
So I always have to like double check with the audiobook for it. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's some really fun names and places and just so many elements of this story that were so unique to read about. But obviously, the way that you've introduced us as the reader to it just makes it feel like an actual real place that I can go to. And I'm quite sad that I can't, but also quite relieved because I don't want to be in the middle of war. So I think anyone
Yeah.
would love to just like meet these characters.
Right.
Yeah. In your career, have you ever done anything specifically your way? So like different to what you've been advised to do. For example, are there any writing rules that you break?
Yeah. I mean, writing Light Wilder was definitely a testament to that. Um, there's very much like a, how do I phrase it? Like, there was definitely times when my editor was like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "I think so." Because that's what I always envisioned. But I definitely made some choices that I knew were going to be divisive. I knew that some people were going to really rebel against what I had set up. But I had to just stick with what I believed the story needed.
What would you say your strength is as a writer?
I think that my stories are very character driven. So I feel like I know my characters very well. And there's that. Because if you didn't care about the characters, then you wouldn't care about anything else. You wouldn't care what happens to them or why they're doing what they're doing. So if I felt like if I didn't have a grasp on who Acre was or who Joe was or Bo, then what motivates them, then it would kind of fall flat.
What advice would you give to aspiring authors trying to write or self publish their first novel? Because I think your career as an author has been so inspiring to watch online and see you go from self published to trad published and now working on your third book. Any advice you can share?
Write what feeds your soul, because it's hard. Writing a book is hard. Publishing a book is hard. Opening yourself up to criticism is hard. So it has to be what you enjoy. Otherwise, it won't be fulfilling, especially if you're writing for the idea that someone else is going to read it. Don't do that. Write for you.
That's some great advice. What are the biggest misconceptions you find that people have about the romance genre specifically that impacts you and your writing?
Um, I guess the stigma that we're only reading smut for smut. Um, that's really annoying and an oversimplification. I think obviously we as women, especially predominantly women who read the romance genre, we crave connection, and so, but also we like spice to us, you know.
We have some very memorable spice scenes, but yeah, I think romance is so much more than just smut and spice, but also who cares if it is? You know, like
Right. I mean, no one says anything bad. Like when Game of Thrones came out, and it was heavily, heavily spicy. I mean, But because the audience wasn't predominantly female, no one gave it, talked bad about it or like harped on that fact. But the second that the audience becomes predominantly female, we get a bad rap, and that's just so annoying.
Yeah, it's definitely a very annoying thing that affects a lot of the romantasy genre, but it's also one of the best-selling and most popular genres for a reason, because exactly like you said, like we are all humans out here, like we're craving connection, and women love to read hopeful stories with human connection in them. So yeah, you touched on this during the last Waterstones conversation for Metal Slinger, but I'd love to hear your updated thoughts, especially for some of our new characters. If this was ever adapted to screen, do you have a dream cast, or how do you envision some of our characters for anyone who's not like a visual reader who likes to get a picture in their head?
So take this with a grain of salt, because I have like sometimes I would hear me personally, just as a reader, would hear an author say who their dream cast was, and I'd be like, okay, maybe. So take it with a grain of salt. But I loved Grace Van Patten from Tell Me Lies for our FMC, and Matthew Daddario for Acre. Now, someone recently pointed out to me that Matthew Daddario is 38. Um, and that checks out because I no longer like 20-year-old boys anymore. I'm 34. So if I liked them like at 20, that would be concerning. I'm no longer attracted to that. So do with it what you will. Like, I understand why everyone wants to cast Henry Cavill, because when you're in your 30s and 40s, you're not looking at, like, I don't even know a young actor. I can't even think of one, because I am only attracted to older men.
Yeah, no, I mean, I always love the adaptations that have like new people in them, like rather than like huge celebrities, because Henry Cavill is always the number one fan cast. So, yeah,
And now Henry Cavill is only Superman to me, or The Witcher. Like, I can't outsee that now. So
yeah, no, that's so valid. We can't have too many of him. Everyone can't be Henry Cavill. So yeah, we've got one final question for you before we'll jump into the audience Q&A, and it's, well, technically it's two questions in one. But it's, what's one thing you want readers to take away from Lightwielder after finishing it, and also what can readers expect from you next?
I hope that people are happy with the way that Jovi's story ends. I hope that they feel like that it was satisfying. And then going into book 3, expect the unexpected, but also enjoy the ride.
It is a very fun ride. And we will jump into audience questions now. So if you haven't submitted a question yet, you can do so through the Q&A box. And we're going to start answering some questions, and let's go for it. Oh, this is a good one. Holly says, who are your top 3 book boyfriends?
Oh, okay.
One also, but
I mean, that's hard. I mean, I think that everyone's is Rhysand, is it not? I mean, he's like a golden standard for me. I loved, so a book boyfriend that's stuck in my mind that has never left is Kelly Hart had wrote this Academy romance, like a contemporary, and in book 3 of the Riot House series is a MMC called Pax, and he still lives rent free in my head. And then everybody's gonna be mad at me, but I was always Team Jacob.
Rachel!
I know.
can't believe that.
So the moment that, I don't want to spoil Twilight for anyone, but I think we're fine this far out. The moment that Edward left Bella in the woods, he was dead to me. That's a phenomenon that men do, like in real life, is they abandon their spouses or their girlfriends like on a hiking trail. Like, that's a phenomenon. And Edward did it to Bella, and ever since then I could never look at him the same.
I mean, that's so valid.
I love all the Team Jacob. Alpine Divorce, that's what it's called, yes.
I just don't think that. To me, like, I love a love triangle. Whenever I read or watch a love triangle, I'm always like, there's always one obvious clear winner, and it was never going to be, you know?
I
So,
know. I know. I mean, I read the whole series and I was like okay with it at the end, but I secretly the whole time in that book was like, I could live with this.
yeah, no, that's fair.
Someone said I was Team Jacob until Nessie, and that's facts. That's what I'm saying. Like at the end, I was like, well, now it can't happen.
Victoria says, seeing as you now listen to music while you've been writing, can you put together a playlist for the books?
Yes, on my Spotify, you will find a Metal Slinger playlist and a Light Builder playlist, and then I have my current for book 3 hidden.
Ooh, exciting when that goes up. Lucy says, which kingdom in Metal Slinger and Light Wielder is your favorite?
I think it's a tie for me between Mei Li and Royson.
We've got quite a few questions asking if book 3 is multi-point of view, single point of view, dual point of view. Can you tell us anything?
No.
That'll
have to wait. I'm so sorry.
No, that's keeping us at the edge of our seats for when we can find out that answer. Charlotte has asked if you can tell us anything about the butterflies on the cover. I think for anyone who has already read the books, then we kind of know more about that. But is there anything spoiler-free you can say?
Yeah. So like in Mei Li, the butterflies, there's these golden butterflies that live in the trees there, and they're a symbol for the Mei Li people. Yeah.
Rachel says, I picked Metal Slinger for my book club book of the month back in March, and it was divisive. If you picked a book for a book club, what would it be? I think Metal Slinger would be such a fun book to read in book club. I read it in my book club because getting everyone's reactions to the end and theories is so fun. What's a book?
Yeah, I feel like it's a good book to buddy read for sure.
Yeah.
A book for book club. I mean, I love this series. It's a trilogy by Wendy Higgins, and it's called the Unknown Trilogy. And it's a dystopian with aliens, which sounds crazy. I know, just listen to me. It has the best slow burn that I've ever read, ever. It's one of my favorite series.
Oh, I've got some more books to add to my TBR now. And also, speaking of TBRs, Beth says, since you mentioned looking forward to a getaway to the beach with your TBR, what's your most anticipated read on your TBR currently?
Well, I had started Dungeon Crawler Carl whenever right when I had surgery in March, and so I had picked it up for like when I was in recovery, but I had to put it down while I was writing. So I would really like to finish that book.
I have heard incredible things about that one. That's also one that's on my TBR. Marie asks, what song do you think would best describe Metal Slinger and Light Wielder?
Oh, both of them?
Yeah.
Daylight by David Kushner.
Oh. That's a good one. Another song question. Can you give us any song from Book 3's playlist?
Let me see. I have to pull it up very fast. I feel like it makes it obvious if I say that one.
Oh.
Let's do. Gosh, this is hard. Let's do The Wolf by the Spencer Lee Band.
Ooh. Okay.
Princess Donut does roll. Sorry.
I'm need to get all the lyrics up on Google right now, listen to it, see if there's anything I can pick up. Irene asks, how many drafts do you normally write until you're satisfied and ready for someone else to read the novel?
So my best friend beta reads as I write typically. So she'll read like a certain group of chapters at a time. And then I probably go through, after developmental edits, probably 2 or 3 revisions.
So many rounds of writing. I'm always so interested to see what like the first version of a book is and how much it changes. Because as the reader, we just see the final thing. We don't know how many rounds
Right.
it was. So yeah.
I mean, Metal Slinger was just the one. I mean, I didn't know what developmental edits were, and I published it just the one. And so, yeah.
That and for it to be so loved, that's really fun. And every single book is completely different. That's really inspiring. Lucy asks, what type of romancy writing do you enjoy reading the most? Fast paced, lyrical, etc.
I appreciate all of it. Like, I can read Rachel Gillig's writing and be so enamored by her writing. It's really captivating. And then I can, and it's like a prose. Like, it feels like you're not just reading a story, it's like enveloping you. I'm really, like, that'll never be me, but I can super appreciate it. And then I love everything from heavy fantasy to more of a romantasy where it's like romance forward. I love it all. If it has romance in it, I'll read it.
Emma asks, do you have any plans for a UK book tour, maybe for book 3?
Not yet, but y'all should definitely reach out to Glenn's and tell them that y'all want to see me.
I'm going to be sending some messages after this. We want to get Rachel to the UK. Emily asks, what's an ending of a story you wish you had written?
Oh. I don't know if I've ever, when I read another author's work, I never feel like, oh, I wish I would have done that. I don't think I've ever had that thought. I can just appreciate it for what it is and be really impressed.
Erin says, you said that Jovi's story wraps up in Lightwielder, but what about Acres?
I think that y'all are going to be fine with Acres' story as well. I just, since we started with Joe's story, that's what I lead with.
So many questions are coming in every time I find one, another one pops up. The people are keen to know. So Stephanie says, can you do a marry, love, kill characters from Lightwielder?
Yes. Again, take this with a grain of salt. I would marry Bo. I would F Messer. And I would kill Hallis.
I think I would say the same. But yeah, that's pretty good. Kirsty asks, in book 3, will we see any of the big moments from the first 2 books through another character's perspective?
Yes, for sure.
Ooh, interesting. A little timeline insight. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, even if it's just in hindsight, you get their perspective on it.
That's super interesting. This is a little bit of a different one. I think Grace is keeping it really fun here. What is your favorite pasta shape?
Pasta. Oh, I love a rigatoni or a penne. I like the sauce to get in between get in the noodles. So you make sure it's like really saucy every time you bite. I love that question. What do you like?
I'm like, spaghetti is always one of my favorites, but if it's not spaghetti, it's rigatoni.
Okay.
Yeah, like I crave like a tube for the sauce, but then I also love a long, thin noodle.
Yeah.
Everyone else, feel free to share your favorite pasta shape. Becca asks...
A linguine.
Oh, linguine. That's just like a thick spaghetti, though, to me. I'm like, I just take spaghetti. Becca asks, do you always read from your TBR, or do you have a comfort book or series you return to as like a palate cleanser?
I love my favorite book of all time is On the Island by Tracy Jarvis Graves. And I will do a reread of that. I've read this book probably 15 years ago, and I originally didn't pick it up because it's a reverse age gap. Even when I was like 20, I was like, I don't think I'll like that. But it's done so well, and I recommend everyone to read it.
Holly says, do you prefer hardback, paperback, audio, or Kindle when reading?
So, y'all are going to think I'm crazy, but I mostly read on my phone. Yeah.
How?
Yeah. I don't know. As I've gotten older, it's gotten harder because I find myself squinting. So I imagine, like, with age, I'm going to have to give it up. I never got a Kindle because I have to, like, keep so many things charged already that I was like, if I add another thing that I have to plug in at night, I'm going to lose my mind. But if I had a choice, like, if I, like, if lived in a perfect world, I would love a paperback.
See, I like all types of reading. I think they're great, but I never even knew that phone was an option.
Well, do you have your Kindle app on your phone?
Yeah, but I've never in my
Met anyone that read on their
I'm gonna
phones?
go read on my phone, and for that to be like your main and preferred choice is refreshing. I might have to try that one out. I've not done that. We've got time for one more question. Emily asks, what should we read to recover from Lightwielder?
I don't have, y'all, I've read 4 books in the last 2 years. Haven't read enough. And that hurts. That hurts my soul. So I'm not sure. Maybe y'all can all read my TBR with me. And I think I really, really want to read Melissa K. Rorich's series.
Which one?
Oh, well, in my head there was only one. What is it called?
There's Lady of Darkness, Legacy, and then The New Tortured Souls.
I've been reading The Reign of Shadows and Endings.
Yes, that's the Legacy series. That's one of my favorites. I think
I'm exactly 2% in because, again, I am waiting. But yes.
I think that's a great recommendation to read after you recover from Lightwielder, and then when you finish that, you can jump back into your Metal Slinger reread and start again. Alright, and that is all the questions that we have time for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for sending in some of those incredible questions, especially Grace with the pasta shapes. And thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us today, this evening, or this afternoon in Louisiana. It's been so fun to chat with you today, and we cannot wait to see what comes next from you. So make sure you're following Rachel on socials. Like she said, she posts everything over there. And thank you all for tuning in tonight.
Thanks, guys. Thank y'all.